to the Art of F.A. Chekki, and if you saw my first episode, you will see that I do not even talk like this. This is not my real voice. Well, this is episode 2, and I'm going to show you where I left off, going back before this point, but I want to show on video where I finished from my last episode, a few other buildings, a few other techniques talking about shadow and light and various other things related to that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where that is here on the piece, this Seaside Citadel piece that I've been working on, and you'll get to see a little bit of that here and how I created it, and maybe you'll learn a little bit, maybe you won't. Either way, I hope you're entertained. So let me go ahead and show you what that is here on the canvas. So this is the part I've been working on, and now it's been done more than what you'll see on the upcoming video footage. But I work mainly that part here. There's a little building here that I've actually darkened some because I want to go over it again, and I'll explain that later. But on a piece like this where there's really low light on the horizon, I want to keep a lot of the shadow. This is why I used a darker acrylic. I could have done lighter. You can see there's a lot of acrylic everywhere. There's even some still up here. The background, of course, is going to be somewhat darkened in that light is penetrating kind of on the water side and up this line here more than anything else, along the port side where the path goes around. And so what I really want to touch upon is in these buildings where I'm putting my light and how I'm shadowing various parts. And that's a big thing to keep in mind. If I pan out here, you'll see these buildings are quite far back compared to the front. Now as I get to this building here, I think I'm going to work on this next episode and some of the alleyway in there. These are going to be much finer details. The little boat here can have some pretty good detail on it. And then we'll just add little things in it, like these objects like barrels and boxes, just little things that you'd see on a port street. People, a lot of people are going to be a little bit silhouette type people that I'm going to do. I decided to do it that way. I don't do a lot of portraiture of people, but I think this piece needs to have something to feel more alive. And so upcoming here, I have some video for you to watch. Enjoy, comment, like and subscribe if you will, and glad to have you back. And little ritual here. Gotta light the Bob Ross shrine before we start painting. There we go. Namaste. Oh. All right, so working in this little area again. Little distraction there, but good. That's all good. Just clarifying a little bit in here. This shadow. The previous post talking about this piece, where the video is going to be subsequent to it, talked about shadowing and how sometimes a little blue, a little purple, violet, whatever the case may be, purple or violet right here on the brush, and just clarifying this little shadow right in here. Okay, pan out a little bit there, and that's the side of that building towards just towards the bottom there. Okay, now this building here has a little side and as well. There's going to be some light in there, but as you can see, just giving a little bit more clarity to that spot. And now I'm going to just put a little bit of some brown color on here. Kind of dab the brush a little bit on a cloth and go back right in here at the edge of this building. Kind of get the edge of that molding there. In order to just kind of free it a little bit from looking blurred on that corner. And on the front of it, it can be more brown. And look what I did right there. Just mix purple and brown. Oh, I gotta redo that. Sometimes you make little mistakes like that because you're not paying attention. That's all right. I didn't touch the canvas yet. And going right on there. Sometimes I use this technique a little bit where I'm just kind of going up and down and light, very light strokes. Just to get some paint off the brush, but not to press too hard into the canvas. And why do I do that? Well, when you press really hard on your brush, the brush will start to change shape. That's one reason, but sometimes I want to see how the paint's coming off the brush so as to get the effect that I'm looking for. So the harder you press, it may release more paint, but it may also, with these finer details, press out of your line or the plane that you're working in, and you may not want that. So just kind of working these windows in here a little bit, on these windowsills, the front of those. This right in there like that. I want to even them out as best as I can, and I can always go in do some on that line too. I can always go in with a little more of the lighter color I was using before, although it will, as oils do, mix in. But as you can see there, I kind of lightened those up some. Put a little bit more of that Van Dyke brown, raw sienna, a little white. And I don't want to lose all the dark underneath because that's some of the shadow I had laid in. But my windows do look a little bit off if you were to look. So that's a little bit of a problem. Fix it. It's not a huge problem, but it can be fixed. And there will be some glass put in there that'll probably even it out as well. So it's all right. I'm just got to go down a little bit lower on this one. The nice thing about using the camera too is you can take a look at what you did and see how it came out. If you're not sharing your work on social media, you still use the camera as a tool and make adjustments or take a step back and look. It depends on what you're painting. I know sometimes people are looking just to have product. You know, it's funny, I posted something, Andy Warhol quote, and he was talking about how it doesn't really matter whether or not you think the art that you're working on is good or bad. He's saying essentially just do art because you like or love doing it, one or the other, I suppose, and just keep making it and let others decide. And I thought that was interesting because part, I think, of what makes artists artists, I guess, that line of, let's just call it either work or enjoyment, because not everybody does it for a living. Some people just do art because they enjoy doing a hobby. They're hobby artists. But I think there's some truth there in terms of work product, how much one's producing. Just keep producing, make art. I don't like everything I've done. In fact, I'm probably my worst critic. At this point in my art career, I probably am my very worst critic, and that's okay. Now, I had to lighten that back in with the same color we had there before. I'm going to change up this windowsill color a little bit. Add in a little bit more of that reddish Venetian red to the brown. Got this Van Dyke brown. Here could be the light darker towards one edge. And don't outline everything per se, although you need to do that to some extent. If you just outline, like, see, I'm back here kind of outlining this, but working some edges around. But what I notice is if you outline and outline everything, it kind of makes it look a little bit more like you're making a coloring book image. I don't even know what to call it. Just try to refrain from always just outlining something that needs to be darkened or whatever. Try to figure out where your light's coming from or going. And my guess is these windows, maybe with some reflective light in there. I'm just gonna tap a little bit with the brush just to get some paint in there where I think it would hit the window. Or perhaps where it would shine on the glass or reflect. And I gotta be careful here not to overdo all that. And I have to go back and fix a little bit. I have my camera this way too. These are parts on the ship. I was pointing out that you can see this is drawn in with the other paint. I was talking about outlining. And again, if you outline everything that you do, you're not really paying attention to the physics. And I did a little bit of that, but going back in, thinking of where I need to clarify some edges on something that's relatively far away to where the bottom down here would be panning out some. That'd be kind of far away. Not like as far away obviously as other mid painting things. If we go out this way, perhaps. It depends where you're standing. My guess is somebody would be standing, if you're the viewer, somewhere over here, perhaps. Maybe at a higher point. Maybe there's a building right here and someone's looking out the window. So, I was just thinking about something kind of funny about perspective and how everything really is perspective. It's true, which in life and in art, Perspective is a lot. It's just a matter of perspective. You might hear that sometimes. Well, sure. Sometimes it's just a matter of relative points of view, and that's true in art and life too. And so I digress here. I'm probably just stream of consciousness right now. Kind of tired. Last night was a long night. Daughter had a fever. Can't believe I'm even painting right now. Welcome to the boring follow-up episode, episode 1, Art of F.A. Chekki, where he just kind of paints and talks nonsense. Trying to keep some of the good. I might be messing with some of this up, but I hope not. Hope it looks good when I'm done. See, that's the thing I can say. I hope it looks good when it's done. Will it? I don't know. I know I like. Down here, I'm putting in the end of where this wall would come down to the ground. It needs to be clarified down there, or else it'll look all dark there for right now. And I'm gonna have some lighting eventually down there. I just want to show you how these buildings somewhat come to life. And with that, just putting in a little bit of clarification where this walls of these interesting port side buildings are. And that will have to be, again, make sure your light on the bottom there has to be a little bit less. Wanted to just, at least in this segment of the painting, just finish up these buildings here. Just do a little follow-up and just kind of point out a few things when you're doing these paintings, is going back to these areas I did before, light and shadow. There's light touching up here, shadow back here. It's not hitting all there, okay? I'm gonna probably go back and clarify around these window edges. A lot easier to do when I'm not filming, but these 3 buildings are almost done. Thank you for watching, enjoy. I'll see you next time.